And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and jump directly into draft. AHQ going to be on your blue side, Type J team on the red. Omo, I want to kind of ask you, what do we want to see out of AHQ this time around heading into Game 2 here in order to tie the series as they lock in the set first pick?
Exactly this. This is exactly what we want to see from AHQ this time around. Blue side, really important between these two teams because of the priority of picks. TF, Galio, undefeated for Nasty. You have to get rid of that, but then it kind of puts you in a dilemma where you have to choose between Set or Caitlyn, and that's kind of the situation that AHQ were forced into last game. This time around though, blue side, no problems. They get the set for themselves, likely going to Uniboy, might be going to Kongya in the jungle. Very versatile flex pick and so strong in the meta as well. Solves a lot of problems in draft for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering the fact that Uniboy is also very proficient when it comes to the set pick in the mid lane as well, having to pair it up with whatever power farming jungler that Kongya desires to do so, therefore a potential very strong 2v2 the HQ is prepared to set up.
Do you see though?
Opens the... sorry.
No, we do see really quickly, just going to catch up with our picks here. We do have the Ashe and Volibear getting locked in here for Type J team as they are the ones that ban out this Caitlyn. Do get to see, though, this Echo that once again will likely be going to Kongyu in the jungle as he was able to get a penta with it yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to mention it opens up the possibility of the AP junglers, and this is the combo that we've been seeing a lot from Alpha as well. The Set and the Echo, really strong combo. Lets you dive onto the Ashe very effectively as well. Combo with the Jhin, opening the curtain calls in the back line. Looking like a very solid comp from HQ. No way.
Okay. We get the Nest T special. We get the Nest T special. He has played Garen mid before, and it was into a set matchup. Do note he did win this last time he played it, all the way back in spring.
Okay, so right now what AHQ have to do is they should be banning Enchanter's bot lane, and they should be looking to put Set in bot lane. I think that's probably what they want to look for, because I don't think you would want to be playing Set into Garen right now. Especially since you've probably never practiced that before.
Yeah, I mean, there is still, just as you mentioned, a lot of possibilities. Yeah, I remember Nesty. I think he carried the Flash Ignite in the mid lane, ready to charge, ready to kill. But yeah, you're right. Set can still be flexed in different roles, can still be possibly Uniboy on the Echo. Maybe you're right, Set on the support role still, so they can still put a better matchup against Nesty in the mid lane for sure. Very curious now as we see a very regular bans, I suppose, Gnar and the Bard being taken out, as Mordekaiser will be the next one. We'll see what HQ decides to ban from the next phase. Still a little bit excited for this.
I'm a loss for words. I was not expecting we'd get the Garen mid ever again, because we kind of asked never to see it again. But hey, if it works, it works. Maybe that's the idea here. And we always, said, Nesty, champion pool sometimes has issues. Well, he says, okay, who needs a mid lane champ pool? I'll just get the solo queue champ pool. As, if you're Type J team right now, you're looking at Leona. What else do you want to maybe try and round its composition? Because this is a beefy front line.
Yeah, it makes sense with Garen, because Garen's problem is he gets kited, right? So if you get a lot of engage, it kind of solves some of the issues for him. They're saving the last pick for rest, which makes sense. AHQ side, they ban away a lot of the safe possible blind picks for J-Team on 4, so they went ahead with the Leona. Doesn't look too bad right now. J-Team though, the main thing right now is I think if they can look for something like a Gangplank on last pick, that would be pretty good here for them, because they can just drop the Cannon Barrage and everyone else can run in onto Wako. Interesting Garen pick though. I'm trying to think like what would work well with it. Probably need an AP top actually.
Maybe a cannon from Rest?
Yeah, explains the cannon. Yeah, explains the cannon and mortar ban as well from the side of AHQ.
Do you see
that?
Yeah,
cannon already out. So yeah, Jace will finish the job for HQ. Can still be put on towards the mid lane, or a lot of flexibility options as HQ already rounded things up. But yeah, you mentioned Omo getting kited, and that could be the answer.
Yeah, you have the acceleration gate coming out from the Jace as well, so they could kind of kite the Well, this is a good pick. That's a very good answer. Perfect. That's what we were looking for. You get an answer to the Jace as well as you get an AP damage top laner. So Akali here actually does really well into the Jace matchup. So red side, right, for J-Team, you get counter picks for both solo lanes. I'm just really interested to see how this mid lane matchup plays out. The rest of the map, it's kind of expected. Top lane in favor of Akali. Bot lane shouldn't be too much action going on in the early stages until some jungle intervention comes in.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this is going to pan out because you got two beefy mid laners in the mid lane. You've got, yeah, you mentioned, Omo, the answer of having at least some AP source of damage in the form of rest. And at least, thankfully, we're not able to see the Renekton anymore. But a lot of action based on what we've seen between the two drafts so far.
I love how that is a sigh of relief for us. We don't get to see Renekton anymore. We're happy. Instead, we get to deal with Garen mid from Nesty. All right,
this guy is the most privileged mid laner in the PCS. He gets to play anything he wants. It's the dream.
That's the idea. You get to pretty much play anything. You let the team around you carry when it's not on your signature champions here. This time around, though, we'll see Lil B isn't necessarily on as much as a hyper carry as he once was with the Caitlyn in Game 1, so this does kind of put a lot more pressure onto some of these other lanes, and to see Rest to be the one to bring out this Akali, I'm actually rather excited. We'll see whether or not he's able to maintain his damage numbers, and going up against Ziv on his Jace, it's carry versus carry up and toward that top lane. We've been waiting for this all season long when it comes to the top side of AHQ versus Type AJ team. Again, Type AJ team currently in the lead when it comes to our series, 0-1 over AHQ. AHQ going to try their best here in Game 2 to tie things up and effectively force us into a best of 3 as we go ahead and load onto the Rift for Game 2.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And here we are. Of course, Nesty has his giant dog. Of course, he's just going to do this nonstop. I wasn't expecting a Garen mid in our playoffs, Riku.
Of course, of course. I believe no one expected the Garen pick. I mean, we thought it was just, you know, a summer regular season pick where J-Team, if they go up against the bottom teams of the PCS. But no, this is your second seed of the PCS, having to battle for your Worlds run still, having to face a potential elimination. And that's how, you know, how interesting Nesty is here, what he brings to J-Team's table.
This dance is the like approximation of just this what I expect of this matchup. All right. I also called out a dog. It was, of course, a lion. The dog is the Darius skin,
The dog is the
which I
lion.
prefer actually. I prefer his dance over this dance. Yes, observers, get in there.
Yes.
Show me how
Gotta
Garen
zoom in.
dances with his lion spirit. Coming back to all serious now. We get to finally kind of see. I'm excited to see this top lane matchup. We've always talked about, you know, Ziv has always been regarded as kind of that king of the top lane. With his kind of departure in the first half of summer, Rest kind of came in and he kind of was able to take that crown when it comes to the PCS. And now we get to see them in this carry v carry style matchup. A Jace up against an Akali. No tanks, just trying to smack each other with wet noodles. No, we're going to be seeing damage numbers. We're going to be seeing those highly aggressive trades. And there's a high possibility that we finally get to see both of these teams play via their top lane if they are able to get ahead.
Yeah, it's actually very refreshing to watch. Just as you mentioned, it's usually Ziv, Rest being on their own at the top side of the map, having to just 1v1 in or wait for Nesty to dive in. And now, so far though, Ziv, with that range matchup, is able to zone out Rest. So it is a very tough early for Rest.
Yeah, Ziv though, getting rather aggressive there. Rest forced to have to kind of back off, holding on to his summoner though. As that level 2 from the Jace, though good. We're still waiting on that level 3 to get the full combo off, so a nice, quick, aggressive trade coming out from Ziv, but Rest, of course, he has pots, he has a Doran shield, he's going to be able to regen quite nicely. As we'll be taking a track here, too, of where Kongyu and Hana are going to be pathing this game, too. We'll see whether or not they're trying to put a lot of pressure toward the top side of the map, because both of them are actually going to be finishing their full clear toward that top lane.
We'll have to see if there is, just as you mentioned, any sort of action, because Ziv may be strong-arming his way towards Rest's lane itself, but still there is that threat of Hana with easy Volibear ganks, easy stuns as well, with quite an adequate amount of damage to finish the job, considering Ziv is a little bit squishy.
I see there Woody getting that Zenith Blade, but for Ysera, that's an easy fly back to prevent that combo from coming on through. But this bot lane starting to take a little bit of pressure here from Lil B and Woody early on. We'll keep track there as Hana actually decided to pass towards bot side, pick up that scuttle, as he decided not to back just yet. Kongyu doing the same here. A very late blue clear, but we'll see. Does this Volibear actually have a path? No, instead, just thinking about trying to get some vision on down, and Unit Boy might have to be careful here if he goes into the river too much.
You have to be a little bit careful. Good thing Hana is on his way for a reset. And therefore Univoice life isn't as in danger. Again, two tanky champions in the mid lane. Therefore will really be in need of the junglers for them to make anything happen in the middle portion of the map. But yeah, going back to the bot side as well, you mentioned Wako and Isera having a little bit of trouble having to face Sylvie and Woody here on such a very oppressive matchup, I suppose. But good thing though, Wako does have that cleanse at least, and as well as exhaust on Isera's side. So to minimize a little bit of that pressure, Nesty though getting chunked a little bit, but he has that form of sustain. He has a Garen. He is a Garen.
He is literally the definition of sustain. It's the passive alone of this bloody Garen. So he's fine just taking a quick and early trade. Again, you're waiting until he gets into that second kind of oomph when he gets to his level. Then it kind of becomes a bit of a nuisance as he'll just continually push in. And the question kind of becomes, when are we going to actually see anything come out of ST? I'm interested. We're not seeing the Predator this time like we saw last time. He brought out the champions and opting to go for the Conqueror. So this is very much more about that 1v1, not roaming around into a side lane to try and make havoc happen. As Woody himself also looking for that early roam, but decides to head on back toward his bot lane and still kind of waiting on that level 6 before we see any kind of true action.
Yeah, just as you mentioned, you know, Hana, or rather the rest of J-Team in this series in particular is expecting this game to go the long mile, so getting the most value out of things with that rune instead of that Predator. But AHQ though has their first control over this dragon portion of things, having to push Nest T, which is the story of this first 5 minutes of the game. You push Nest T, you definitely have more room to grow, or rather more room to take this dragon at the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, you saw there Wako and Ysera, they were able to easily just kind of get prio into more that bot side of the map, so nothing too much to worry about. That does net AHQ their first dragon of the game. It's going to be that mountain. Ocean's going to be coming up next, so we're either going to have our Cloud or we'll have Infernal Soul come onto the map here for game 2. Hana gets spotted out there as he tried to lay down a quick early ward, and we'll see whether or not Ziv actually plays aggressive here. He has an idea that Hana might be nearby. That ward in the Tri-Brush is actually not able to spot out the Volley Bear, but fortunately for the side of Type A J-Team, the wave is going to naturally push on in as both top laners now hitting that level 6.
It's going to be crucial for that level 6, definitely, because the rest, of course, more mobility to work with, and as well as more damage, and that is the name of the game.
Well, Civ has to back off here. That's going to be flash burned by Hana. Kongya comes on over, and Civ deciding to hold on to his flash as long as possible. In comes Uniboy, though, with that showstopper. Gets comboed into that Echo, and Kongya able to find his first kill of the game, so it will be a 1-for-1. Civ maybe hoping he could get himself back to safety, but not expecting that massive amount of damage over the wall. Kongya, though, is going to come out, as that's the teleport coming out from Ziv, looking for the chase here. Rest's going to get slowed down by, of course, that Hammer Slam. In comes that Face Breaker, and Ziv able to find himself his first kill on this Jace. In response, it'll be a 2-for-1 for AHQ.
A beautiful exchange. I mean, Type A J-Team has a lot of capability to just eliminate someone right off the bat with this dive. Unfortunately, though, HQ has that teleport to join in the fight. J-Team had to be sandwiched at this portion, and they're able to take it to a 2-for-1 exchange, which is beautifully done considering that J-Team likes to be aggressive at the early phases of the game, and they were instantly punished by HQ.
And you saw the call there, actually. Ziv very aggressively saying, hey, guys, we can clean this up if they decide to go through the quick rush right there. And Uniboy actually almost went back to base, so a good kind of quick call coming out from Ziv saying, hey, we can at least trade back and gain an advantage at the very least. And there you go. Even a quick roam coming out from Ziv is going to force Nestea back to base here, as Uniboy is going to start picking up some turret plates.
Yeah, fast decision making by HQ there, and for sure, Type A J-Team not prepared for that, considering the fact that, again, Nestea will have to look for opportunities in the side lanes, as, again, mid lane isn't working out too well for him on towards this matchup, getting poked out a little bit. At least he is surviving, but priority on that lane is doing a lot for HQ, and now Rift Herald being started by this team.
Yeah, Shelly eats up that death sentence as AHQ bring all 5 members into the river. You still have Lil V trying to at least get some pressure into the mid lane for Taipei J team to give them some priority. Level 6 is available for this Ashe, so Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to be online, and we'll see whether or not they can find that target. Ultimates, though, are back on the side of AHQ, so if Uniboy wants to, he can try and turn back this fight. Ziv over toward the side, trying to get himself a little bit of extra damage with the Q from the Jace, but now Shelly gonna try and reset into the middle of the river. A little bit of damage coming out as Uniboy ends up popping his ultimate onto Woody. Facebreaker is gonna bring him in for the haymaker. Some decent damage. The sun's gonna land onto Woody. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is gonna come back. Kongya, though, ends up popping his ultimate. Ziv gets taken down, though, as Rest is able to follow him over the blue buff wall. And now a 4v5. Cooldown's not available here for AHQ, but they look to try and take out Nesty. Forces out the flash from the Garen. It's now the current call going to be popped by Wako, trying to find his 4-shot onto Hana. Not going to land as it's intercepted by Nesty. And now Engage comes back from Woody. A beautiful play, though. Uniboy flashing forward with that Facebreaker, and it's such an extended fight on both sides. AHQ still remaining in this. Hana almost gets taken down by Shelly. And there you go, AHQ, even down 1 member, should be able to take down the Rift Herald after the quick reset.
Okay, I cannot count how many times the Rift Herald resetted in that fight. That was such a prolonged little dance that both of these teams did in towards that Rift Herald pit. But yeah, HQ is able to win that standoff in the river side of things, and I really thought it was J team that is able to get that first head start because they're able to eliminate Ziv right off the bat. Beautiful engage, several engages actually coming from Uniboy that managed to zone them out of the way. And I think the worrying trend for this is that not a lot of options for HQ to easily hold Rest down easily because they have to rely on the play, the death sentence, and the setup for Uniboy, which he likes to prepare for these clumped up members of J team.
You saw Shelly there was kind of helping out AHQ. You do kind of see that kind of combo that does come out from Taipei J team, though, that you are going to have that Garen ultimate into Rest's ultimate on the Akali, and you can try and take down probably a half-health member on the side of AHQ, but once you kind of use that, all that single target damage, kind of on cooldown. At HQ, they do have that team fight available, but the action does not stop as Uniboy going to get caught out, has himself using that haymaker, ends up popping his ultimate. Ysera's trying to get that lantern down, but it's not going to be enough to save him as Taipei J team are able to find themselves a fight. Hook lands onto Rest, goes back into the cloak, though. Dragon down to about 2,000 health. Kongya does have that parallel convergence, is going to use it. Dragon, though, resets, and oh my lord, how many resets are we going to have in control objectives as Nesty says, bring back that Dragon. I want to take it. Kongya going to come on over the side and is able to secure it. No, he ends up batting on his smite, and it's going to be Hana that's able to find himself the quick, easy Dragon secure. Rest tries to use his ultimate. Wako able to get himself back to safety, though. And J-Team able to find another quick one. In comes that current call, able to land the 3rd and 4th shot onto Hana, as Hana now forced to use his ultimate to get over the wall to safety.
Whew, that's a lot of resets in the first 12 minutes of the game. First Rift Herald, and now Dragon. And for J team, they will definitely be happy about that one, even though there was a potential steal coming over. But this play, having to catch out Uniboy, one of HQ's main engages, really paid a lot. And HQ had to pay the price, therefore had to bank on Kongya's come in and then get out of there using the Echo ult, but unfortunately it didn't work out too well for them.
Yeah, unfortunately for AHQ, if Uniboy goes down, that's a lot more of the reliable CC that's available in this team composition. Outside of him, you have to pretty much rely on Kongya trying to find a good parallel convergence. For Kongya, that was rather tragic. He was about 30 health off from securing the Dragon, as he ended up missing his smite, and Wako able to get himself back to safety, but already seeing a lot of early skirmishes between these two teams around objectives, and seems to be the case now. Luckily for both sides, there's nothing to really take for the next couple minutes, so hopefully he gets some farm in and gives himself a chance to catch a breather.
Yeah, and the thing about AHQ's composition is that they can get insanely strong at the beginning of this game in particular, especially when Ziv is able to get ahead, but the problem is he isn't really getting ahead into this game, and it's Rest having to find these picks here and there as the Akali 2-1-0. We've seen Akali in the mid lane most of the time for our playoffs, at least on missions end, but topside Rest is going to be happy about his first time on this Akali for the playoffs, at least with his nice start.
Has to maintain this pressure, though, and has to be able to find some of these squishy targets. You have to try and take down Wako as well as Ziv, because you take a look at the individual lane matchup, well, it's starting to go decently in favor of Ziv as he's been able to farm himself a rather decent CS lead, and we'll see whether or not Rest is able to maintain that pressure around all these skirmishes, which we're going to assume we're going to have one now in about 2.5 minutes into our third dragon of the game, as we do have Infernal Soul.
A little bit scary for AHQ though. Hana hugging the wall, and we see HQ a little bit extended into the lane. This could open themselves up for a potential dive. Guess the answer is gonna be no, as HQ decides to retract that position, especially that tower at the bot side of the map is actually close to falling.
We'll see a little bit of pressure now coming out. Nesty instead, though. Gonna get a couple auto attacks in onto the tower. Saw Ysera actually coming on by with the Thresh and decides, okay, never mind. I don't even know where Nesty is going right now. Is he waiting for Raptors? Is that what he's doing? What's this Garen doing? Nesty, you okay?
He's just trying to be a human ward, I guess. Not sure, but yeah, Raptors just spawned for Nesty there, but since Uniboy is back in lane, he is going to be that mid lane guardian. For now, at least. And yeah, Uniboy being the only remaining, or the only tanky member for HQ. We'll see whether or not J-Team is able to replicate having to remove HQ's meat shield right off the bat to put HQ in an awkward position for a 5v5.
Well, I see that another quick push going to come out from ST. Interesting enough, he is going for the Trinity Force and opted not to get the Sheen first. Still able to take first tower, so there you go. There's that kind of non-stop push that's going to be coming out of this Garen and AHQ. Not really doing a whole lot to try and lock him down. We expected Kongu to maybe make an appearance earlier, but instead, he's just kind of here to keep pressure. Meanwhile, bot lane, though, do give credit on over to Wako. Again, able to secure the first tower in his matchup, similar to what we saw in Game 1.
Yeah, even though Lil V and Woody on their own, they are able to at least sort of punish with that Crystal Arrow, with that Solar Flare. They are rich when it comes to the CC department. But when it comes to safety, though, Wako does have that cleanse. Ysera as well with a Lantern just to make sure his carry is safe with that exhaust, and therefore that's the reason why we don't really see any sort of aggressive plays yet from the bottom side of the map. J-Team still very respectful, but now though, Rift Herald has spawned. We'll see if we're going to be seeing another prolonged fight between these two.
Teleport used by Rest has actually finished off his Gunblade, so that's going to be some decent damage available for him. Do see him looking for that quick roam as he gets the flank off. Woody ends up going into stasis. Nesty's just there to run interference. Rest goes into the back line trying to assassinate Wako. Able to find his target, but not able to finally take him down. There it is, though, with that final auto attack. It will be a 1-for-1. The carry for that Akali. The flash forward coming out from Ysera, able to land that Death Sentence. Desti, though, still spinning to win at this moment on that Garen. Civ trying to get some damage off. A flash forward engage, and the execute is going to be there. But meanwhile, though, Lil V gets taken down by Konya, so it's now turned into a 2v2. Actually, a 2-for-2 into now this 3v3, as Taipei J-Team are going to get choked into this choke point at the entrance of the river. Engage comes out. It's another trade of a 1-for-1. Civ has to back off, though. It looks like he's going to leave Uniboy out to dry. And ST on this Garen has again continued to just be a nuisance. And it's a 3-for-3 as the battle in the jungle continues.
Okay, so for that, again, we mentioned earlier, HQ, if they lose their front line, they will not be able to fight. They will have to rely heavily on Death Sentence picks, but if J-Team pushes and with the collapse, they are definitely not going to win. Especially, again, Nesty, this Garen pick doing a lot with his silence, especially when he dives into the fight. So therefore, having to remove any sort of escape options or follow-up options for additional CC when he dives into the fight. And again, that flash dance sentence would have been great if they're able to eliminate Hana right off the bat, but unfortunately, it is still not enough, and Nesty is able to get another pick, therefore 0 engage, as Uniboy is still the one left. That's how long that fight was. Uniboy is still able to rejoin the fight.
Oh, it was a long one. It was a long one. Meanwhile, AHQ, you can see on your live feed, is able to secure their dragon, so not able to get that Rip Tail, but they are able to at least start stacking toward that Infernal Soul in. A long, scrappy fight between both of these teams. Again, ends off in a 1-for-1 trade when it comes to the objectives, as Taipei J team are able to secure Shelly.
Able to secure Shelly at least and open up the map a little bit more for J team to play around with, I suppose, because they do have a strong, I wouldn't pick potential, I suppose. A lot of CC on board, a lot of damage on board. And looking at the score now for Nest, he's 2-0-4 on the Garen at the moment. Still pretty insane considering the fact that even though Uniboy tried his best to put the Garen on a tight leash, it's still not going to be enough, especially if Nesty joins the fight in the objective dances.
Oh, that's the issue. You can try and keep the Garen close to you, but he likes being close to you. He likes just pushing in the wave non-stop. Do know, too, we are starting to see our first items come online for both squads. Of course, we have that Storm Razor completed for Wako. Deadman's actually opted into here for Uniboy, so he's just going to be there acting as that main heavy tank. Second item, though, online for Kongia. Echo feels really good every time he's able to hit an item breakpoint, so we'll see whether or not he gets a little bit aggressive. For me, Kongia's been here at least cleaning up some of these fights, but we didn't get to see any real pressure come out during the lane phase from him, so I was kind of disappointed, similar to Hana. As gold ranking, of course the Garen is at the top of our bloody gold ranking. Of course he is. Also, he went into a double phage build because he's going to go into Black Cleaver second, as he picked up the Trinity Force already. Interesting, Nesty. Interesting.
Yeah, more cooldowns to deal with, more spinning power, I suppose, for Nesty. More silences to deal against AHQ whenever they want to be a little bit more aggressive and punish those full-on, in-your-face sort of type of decisions. And HQ is full of that. You've got the Jace is hoping to dive in as well and burst someone down easily. You've got Kongia as well on this Echo. And Uniboy is going to be in the middle of it all. And therefore, a lot of value being put onto this Garen pick to be able to be close because HQ really has to go near and they have no choice.
We'll see if they have any answer here for Nesty, as he's already passed that 2,000 health mark, and actually now I think he's into the second tick of his passive, so just that natural sustain is a bit ridiculous and gets really annoying to deal with in a side lane, so we'll see how AHQ are able to manage that. You did see that Kongi did at least have himself about 1,000 gold lead over Hana, but we need to start seeing this Echo get involved at starting some of these team fights instead of just being there for cleanup. As again, that's one of your secondary CC forms that if you're able to chain it alongside Uniboy, it can be a devastating combo, and we know Kongia can play very well at the Echo. We saw Penta yesterday come out from him. Shelly, though, going to be popped onto the bot side map, so Taipei J team pretty much saying, all right, HQ, you want to try and make a play here mid, we're going to start taking towers bot.
Exactly. Kongia really loves his Echo pick, and he's definitely in his element, but he needs the other piece. He needs Uniboy to set up for him, and Nesty's bullying Uniboy out of the lane at the moment.
With that, Uniboy just kind of has to watch here. You're likely at least able to take down Shelly to prevent that second charge. 90 seconds, though, onto our next dragon, and for Taipei J team, actually securing mid lane tower as well as bottom first tier tower helps open up the bot side of the map. They can push down that ward line and makes it rather difficult for HQ to actually go in here without having to blind check ahead of this next dragon that for them, if they're able to secure, would put them at soul point on the next dragon spawn.
And the next dragon spawn would, I mean, set the tone, I suppose. J team maybe one dragon behind of HQ, but currently it's looking pretty solid for the recent fights, I suppose, considering Nesty already finished his 2 builds, which is the Black Cleaver and his Triforce. And even though HQ's mission may have to eliminate Lil V, punish Rest when he gets in too deep. You cannot absolutely still ignore the Garen because he lasts so long in towards the fight, and eventually you spot yourself out, nothing else left to do. But yeah, at least HQ has the first dibs on this area, at least to zone J team away.
See here now. 10 seconds ahead of our Drake. Both teams just trying to get some of that mid lane prio so they can at least try and rotate down into the river. Lil B got to be a little bit careful. A nice shock blast combo comes out from Ziv as he hits his second item. Actually, he's opted to go into that Black Cleaver, just looking for some extra cooldown reduction as well as some extra health. So survivability. Woody gets caught out. Death End's going to land, ends up bringing him back into the middle of the team, but they're not able to actually take down that Leona. Enchantress arrow was used by Lil V, so that is not going to be available. Third shot lands from the Gurn Call. Fourth is going to land there onto Rest, but he's still pretty healthy at that point. Currently sitting at half health on the Akali. And like that AHQ, they're able to get some poke damage. There was a full commit coming out from Uniboy, but they are not able to net themselves a kill.
The dragon resets for the first time in this encounter again, and that's the second time. And Nesty, though, has a different entry point to the fight.
Another reset, though, when it comes to this Bloody Dragon, and these long fights seem to be customary, as that's going to be Nesty looking for a flank here. In comes that Dragon going down low, but it's going to be Kongya that's able to steal away the Drake. Meanwhile, though, Nesty able to take down Ziv. Lil V gets taken down, though. The bot lane for J-Team non-existent at this point. Kongya able to get a double kill, but that beefy front line still exists on the side of Taipei J-Team. A root's going to land in onto Hana, gets himself back to safety. Kongya, though, able to get himself back with a chrono break. Nesty trying to jump on in. It's not going to happen. Now Rest has to start running for the hill. Flay on back, and unfortunately, no ultimate available for this Akali. It's going to be the ace for AHQ.
And everything just falls into shambles right in front of J-Team. Even though they were the ones who 100% committed into that dragon, HQ is able to reap their rewards by being a little bit more patient. The first time isn't really great for Kongya to try to steal the dragon, but not waiting for the third time, steals it the second time around. And it was a little bit worrisome for HQ considering the fact that they've used so many ults at the initial portion of things to invest again so much in Woody without having any sort of exchange. But the poke coming from AHQ is enough to put J-Team in an awkward position for HQ to just try to do cleanup when things get a little bit too sticky for both of these teams.
And you see there on your live feed, it is going to be HQ able to secure the Baron. That's actually an arrow that's going to come out, and hopefully we get to actually see that fight take place as Rest is trying to go for the engage. Not going to happen, but Baron buff now secured by HQ at 25 minutes. And you take a look at this composition from J-Team, not a whole lot of range for them to work with, so for HQ, possibly the opportunity here to get a good siege in, pick up a lot of this freestanding gold on the map, and especially now with Kongyu sitting at almost 10,000 gold, has hit his next item breakpoint on this Echo. He's going to start hurting. Comparatively, though, Nesty also still sitting at 10,000 gold, so we'll see whether or not this Garen can actually hold the siege.
Even though it looks great for Nesty on this very unexpected Garen pick into the series, HQ, though, is looking really, really good at the game at the moment, having to acquire that Baron after that Dragon steal. And yeah, looking at the player counts too, all smiles for HQ. And even though Nesty was ahead, you can see him quite like sinking in his chair a little bit more as HQ have found their footing in this game at the moment.
Maybe he's just getting a little bit relaxed again. You are a Garen
That's
player.
true. That is also something.
The high mechanics we've not seen. That's Kongyu, though, able to find the stun onto Lil V. And that's the Ashe going to get taken on down. Rest tries to jump in onto that back line. Has to use the cloak to try and get himself back to safety. Civ, though, able to get that damage. Gets another tag, but in they go. Chasing down Hana. And HQ starting to run away with this game as J-Team have to back off. 2 minutes before the Infernal Soul, so HQ are not going to be able to secure that just yet, but you still see that aggression coming out from Mutaboy. Meanwhile, mid lane, though, second tier tower going to get taken down, similar to what we're about to see here in the bot lane.
And that is the most tragic thing you'll see, because the most fed member of the team from J-Team is not around for that fight, therefore not getting a lot of value off of that lead. And again, this composition from J-Team is a little bit more on in-your-face kind of style, but not a lot of out options, no disengage options for J-Team. That's the reason why if HQ pulls the trigger, it is able to execute perfectly. You'll see the squishy members of J-Team just explode from the damage.
There you go, Kanye. He's able to find himself an opportunity without having to worry about Uniboy being that primary engage and starting to get these choke points under wraps. And for Type A J team, without that proper vision being put down, it's rather risky for them to even be in a lot of these choke points. Rest is only able to just barely survive. On top of that now, AHQ have been able to pick up an inhibitor, so that bot lane has been scarred. We'll see how they try and adjust here, as we do have 1 minute until AHQ can look to try and secure that Infernal Soul.
Yeah, Lil V has to be careful now of having to retreat into the lane or maybe get caught out in mid rotations, because AHQ, an amazing punish composition. And with that said, just as you mentioned, a lot of items on board already for AHQ. Uniboy earlier, if he gets caught out, it was understandable because not a lot of tanky items on board just yet, but now he is going to be very meaty when it comes to these 5v5 fights, which J-Team will have a very difficult time with, especially Rest hasn't really looked for the correct targets so far. But now, look, a bunch of pings towards Rest in the bottom side of the map.
20 seconds now, though, onto that Drake. So once that gets backed up, I think it's actually 30 seconds or so, as that's about to spawn now on your mini-map. So for AHQ, if they are able to find this, it does secure Infernal Soul. The engage comes out from Lil V. Immediately, though, is going to get cleansed by Ysera, as Uniboy is going to be just fine. In comes that engage. Woody wants to try and get onto the back line. Hana jumps in himself, but that's going to be a 3-man ultimate coming out from Uniboy with the showstopper. Facebreaker is there, but they're not able to finally finish off a kill. Type A J team still at full health, but Kanye able to get that solo kill as Rest was trying to look for a flank. He gets taken down. Curtain call. 3 bullets land. 4th one locked and loaded. Woody's going to get chunked, and Kanye again looking to hunt down. Chrono Break's going to get himself back to safety. Destins lands back on over to Hana. Forced to flash away, and Kanye jumps right back on in. Woody taken down low. Nessie jumps forward. Lil V on this Ashe untouched during this entire fight. Kanye, though, turns his attention back, and it's a double kill for Wako. Make it a triple. 4th bullet in the line, and it's a quadra for the Jin. And with that, the ace for AHQ.
Kongyu is playing out of his mind on this Echo, and because Minion Wave is just stomping towards the base, HQ can end the game.
And there you go, Minion's already in there. Civ used his teleport, and AHQ able to bounce back here in game 2. Rest, unfortunately, on this Akali. Not much can be done to hold the base. And like that, HQ able to tie up our series 1-1 up against Taipei J-Team.
Even though at a numbers disadvantage, Kanye just literally played out of his mind there and took things around, and J-Team with that just fell in game number 2.
So with that, AHQ are able to tie up our series up against Taipei J-Team. And coming back now to our analyst desk, Omo, early on there, it's kind of showing us that a lot of these kind of power picks in the series, getting this blue side seems rather important, and actually main reason why I've already gotten word that J-Team's going to be taking it in game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too, because blue side seems to be the OP one for the series, just purely because of what AHQ have to ban. You have to ban the Galio, you have to ban the Twisted Fate, and if you're on red side, that means you're giving over either Sett or Caitlyn, which are both champions which you really don't want to be giving over in the current meta, especially given how both of these teams want to play. Especially once again, if we talk about how we're gonna adapt going into the next few games, if you're J-Team, you can't be giving over Sett because it enables the Echo pick too well, and it causes too many problems for the meta AD carries. If you're playing something like Jhin, if you're playing something like Ashe, this Echo can just jump onto you and make your life really, really hard, especially if you don't have a support that can peel for you, which is kind of what the problem that we saw in this game was. The entire team on the side of J-Team wanted to dive in, and the entire team on the side of HQ wanted to dive in, but Jhin could more or less deal with it a little bit better with the trash by his side, while Lil V's Ashe combo with Leona was just getting killed every single time by Konga.
Yeah, it looked very awkward because we saw that final fight in the Dragon Pit. It was J-Team getting the numbers advantage there, but Kanye survived and really gave J-Team a hard time, and not only that, has equaled to ending the game at that point.
Yeah, and unfortunately there too, you saw that Lil V, he was trying on that Ashe. He was able to get himself onto the side there and is able to get some damage, but like we mentioned, you're not able to have that frontline tank in the form of this Leona, as we'll take a look back at this fight here for the Infernal Soul, he'll just instantly get caught out, and there's so much chase potential for AHQ, it makes it rather difficult for J-Team to escape.
Yeah, like I think the problem as well is in the execution of the team fights from the side of J-Team. Like they look pretty out of sync, honestly. Like if you just watch all the team fights in this game so far, they'll be diving onto either Ziv or someone else that's not a priority target when Wako and Kongya are the ones that are really taking over this fight. Ziv just shoots a couple of shock blasts and his job is pretty much done. Like that's all he really needs to do. So if you kill him in these scenarios, Wako and Kongya are still gonna clean up the team fight. So it's very problematic the way J-Team are executing in these dragon fights. Like, look at that. Everything goes onto Ziv, but Wako and Kongya are just killing your ulti.
Yeah, I mean, Nesty Rest came from the backline too, but it was a little bit too late already because just as you mentioned, the carries are still practically alive.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seemed to be the reoccurring trend for Lil V as on his app, Woody especially. There's a lot of times where Woody was getting caught out at the beginning of fights, and in that poor Leona, if she isn't able to survive long enough, she can't get that ultimate down, even with the Zenith Blade, so we'll see how they can try and adjust here. But MVP, Kongya, this Echo is starting to get really disgusting during the playoffs. Got a Penta yesterday, and now 8-1-7 to finish off here in Game 2 as he picks up the MVP.
Yeah, I honestly feel it's a really good champion when you're playing against champions that can't punish your weaker early game. So when you're playing against something like a Volibear, if he can't find ganks onto lanes, which he wasn't really able to this game. You have a Garen in the mid lane, you have a Leona into Trash in the bot lane, and you have a Akali in the top lane. Barring the topside dive, there's really no avenues for him to be looking for plays too aggressively, especially when Garen loses mid prio early on as well. So Echo gets the free farm, become this absolute monster, and just one-shot Lil V.
Yeah, and I think that could be the worrying trend that we saw in Hana in several series already during the playoffs of having waiting for the latter stages of the game, for the 5v5s, for the objective fights. But normally, such as Kongya, who's able to, just as you mentioned, farm freely, not a lot of pressure applied, and it's going to be too late when they do meet in the fights.
So now, you get ourselves kind of reset when it comes to this series. It's 1-1, and effectively now we have a best of 3 on our hands. It only takes 2 more victories in order to lock yourself into that lower bracket final. We're going to go ahead and take a short break, though. When we come back, Game 3, series tied 1-1 between AHQ and Taipei J-Team.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.